Welcome to MissouriNet.com. From the Learfield Lounge, I'm Bill Pollack, getting ready for Mizzou and Georgia. And every year for the last couple of years, we had a chance to talk with Marc Weiszer from the Athens Banner-Herald. He joins us again. Marc, thank you. And my first question, how is Nick Chubb? That was a horrific-looking injury, and it doesn't matter. Rivals wanting to beat teams, when you see an injury like that, your heart just goes out to a guy.
Yeah, he hasn't had surgery yet, from what I understand. They're letting the swelling go down. I guess the way that they were saying was it was a good thing that the ACL wasn't involved, but it is a PCL, a ligament tear, and some other ligament as well. And the hope is he'll be back by next season. They're a little cautious with what they say about it, but given how gruesome that injury looked, and the vines that went out afterwards, and the replay that CBS showed initially, it wasn't. I guess that's better than what people feared. Maybe they thought it was career-ending type thing. The other part of it was just watching Nick react to it on the sideline, and his teammates. Obviously, great kid, incredible running back, and it's another injury for Georgia, losing their star running back for the second straight year.
Well, we had our firsthand look at him last year, and he ran wild against us up in Columbia. And I think this is the third year now that, quote unquote, the starting running back for Georgia isn't playing in this game. Todd Gurley was suspended, and I think he was hurt a couple of years before that. So it hasn't seemed to slow down the Bulldogs, at least when they play us. It's always a good game. So far, Georgia's taken two of the first three. Marc, with the suspension to Florida's quarterback, and they were off to such a great start, 6-0. From the outside, you kind of look at it and you look at records and you think, not going to hand Florida the SEC East, but they were certainly in the driver's seat. Is the thought now in Georgia that, you know what, we're in this thing again?
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing what can happen in 72 hours, without winning a ball game. And Georgia's had, they haven't won an SEC game since South Carolina, which seems like forever ago. But as you mentioned, losing the starting quarterback, they have to go to LSU this week. Florida does. So if Georgia beats Missouri, they'll head into Jacksonville after the open date with momentum and knowing you beat Florida. With Treon Harris as their quarterback, you're back in good shape. You'll have the tiebreaker against Florida. But Georgia needs to get their own house in order. They have some issues as well. Defensively, they're not as good as that they thought they might be. And, Grayson Lambert's been up and down as well. So I think, Mark Richt wants them to take care of Missouri first. But I was talking to Jake Ennis, the UAB inside linebacker transfer. And he said, we noticed that about the Florida quarterback, and I think it did give him a little bit of a jolt of, that this thing's still out there.
When you look at Missouri's defense, and it's really quite amazing. I mean, we had a feeling that they would be good. They're putting up some really solid numbers. And when I look at the way Missouri's offense has struggled to move the ball consistently and move the chains, the fact that they're still one of the top defenses in the conference kind of blows my mind. You just figure more chances for the other team, they'd eventually wear down. What do Mizzou fans need to look for from Georgia's offense this week as they watch the game?
It's going to be an interesting matchup there. I think, Georgia's got two veteran tackles. Colton Houston is a 6-year right tackle now. He didn't play his first 3 years, had an issue similar to the Florida quarterback where he had a substance issue that kept him from playing, and it took him a long time for it to cycle out of his system. Now, that was a high school injury that he got a shot in his shoulder, and, he says it wasn't performance enhancing anyway. And then you have John Theus on the left side. Both those guys will get big tests from Missouri's pass rushers, and, I went back and looked, and Missouri had a first-round pick, right, a second-round pick out of the defensive ends position, but they restocked, and I think Georgia's going to have to get some quick releases from Grayson Lambert, but I don't know if Missouri's seen a running game like Georgia's, even without Nick Chubb. You'll have Sonny Michel. I think he's going to take the bulk of the carries. You'll have Keith Marshall working in there a little bit. I was surprised that Florida went and looked at their rushing numbers. They're like 100th in the nation or something. So this will be a big test for Missouri. But you can't help but look at what Missouri's done defensively and be impressed.
Well, I know that if Mizzou fans, or certainly if the Mizzou defense is thinking, okay, Chubb's out of the lineup, we can relax. I mean, as I mentioned, we saw what happened last year. Mizzou better be ready for the Georgia run game. We're talking with Marc Weiszer, the Athens Banner Herald. Talk about your defense a little bit.
Well, Georgia's lost their two inside linebackers last year. They had a lot of tackles in Marlo Herrera and Ramik Wilson. Both Ramik Wilson's now with the Chiefs, making some plays there. I mentioned Gaines. He stepped in. The big issue, I think, for Georgia is their pass rush has been relatively non-existent, which is a big surprise when you have Jordan Jenkins had a big game against Vanderbilt, but has been quiet since then, and probably is not playing Saturday. He had a hip flexor type injury. Leonard Floyd is considered a first-round pick. I saw Mel Kiper had him, I think, maybe number 15 overall pick in his latest projection. But they lined him up at inside linebacker the first 4 games, and he really they need his help as an edge rusher, and he didn't look to have a really good game against Tennessee last week. Then you have Lorenzo Carter, who was a big 5-star recruit, and he's I don't think he's registered a sack yet this year. He was in the doghouse in the preseason, lost the chance to be a frontline guy, and they're just not getting much out of those guys. Trenton Thompson is number 1 recruit in 247 Sports, and they started him a couple weeks ago for the first time, and he's making plays in the run game. Can make some tackles for losses behind the line. In the secondary, they've had some issues with coverage, and they've given up some big plays, which is uncharacteristic of them against Alabama in particular. That they had a couple, and the tackling last week against Tennessee was not good. And Josh Dobbs can do that for you, but Georgia also had to play 90 snaps defensively, and I think they wore down.
Drew Lock is going to be making his first collegiate start on the road. Talk to our fans about how difficult it is to play at Georgia.
I think it'd be more difficult given it's a night game. If this was a 12 o'clock early SEC network start, I think you might have a different deal coming off 2 losses. But Georgia fans don't get as many night games as they like, and it's homecoming also. I think that will help Georgia, and they're pretty hungry for a win. Now, if things go slowly for Georgia, I don't know if the fan base will turn on them a little bit. I think Gary Pinkel was right when he said it's probably a top 5 venue in college football, and I think that's probably more for the beauty of it, the setting right in the middle of campus. And the tradition in terms of it being a loud, fierce environment like LSU or Tennessee, and some of the other places. I'm not sure about that. Sometimes it can be. Will it be Saturday night? We'll see.
Good stuff. Hey, what do you think about Gurley with the Rams? He's had a couple of big games for them. It's nice to see him come back from his injuries and perform at the pro level.
Yeah, I know all the Georgia fans were really thrilled to see him do that. I guess that's good news as well for Nick Chubb to see a guy have a serious knee injury and be able to bounce back. And I know the Rams like the trade, I guess, of Todd Gurley for Brian Schottenheimer, although it didn't exactly work out that way. But Todd, obviously Georgia fans didn't get to see him as much last season because of the suspension and then the knee injury and 2 straight 100-yard rushing games.
Yeah, and he put almost 150 up against Arizona. So yeah, he's doing great. I mean, he bounced back, and I thought it was a great pick, and I knew that it would take some time to develop, and I knew he'd have to ease back in, but I didn't expect this early in the season from him. It's remarkable. Yeah,
it looks like the GM there made a good choice. Top 10, and took a chance, and Todd will be a Ram, I guess, for the foreseeable future, and I guess in St. Louis, right? They're not moving to LA, right?
I don't know. I think they're gone after this year. So St. Louis fans better enjoy them for the one season. Yeah, I think they're gone. So
all right. Well, you got the Royals and the Cardinals still. So
yeah, and the Cardinals are out. So things are going down fast. We're putting all our eggs into the basket of the Kansas City Royals, and unless the Missouri Tigers turn things around this Saturday, and it's going to be tough, this could be another difficult game for the Missouri Tigers. Marc Weiszer of the Athens Banner Herald, I know you've got to run. Thanks so much again for joining me.
Sure, no problem, and maybe we'll do it, I guess next year. I was going to say before the championship game, but it won't be Georgia, Missouri, so we'll see.
That's good. Hey, thanks a lot. And where can people check your stuff out at?
Okay, just go to onlineathens.com and scroll to the sports section part there, and it's all out there.
Easy enough. All right, great stuff. So if you want more on the Georgia Bulldogs, check out Marc's stuff. I'm Bill Pollock. Thanks a lot for watching us at MissouriNet.com.